Entitled mother wants me to stop treating my young adult children as adults. Obligatory. I'm on mobile. English is my first language. Feel free to point out any grammatical errors. So a little backstory is in order. I have 2-year-old young adult children living at home ages 18 and 19. They both work and go to college. I trust my kids. I trust their decision-making skills. When they graduated high school and turned 18, new rules went into place. No curfew. Just call me and let me know if you're going to be out all night so I don't worry. You can call me at any time for a pickup, no questions asked. Just don't be stupid and drink and drive. Yes, your significant other can sleep over or come over for the weekend. Just let me know what's going on. Pay a small rent during the summer when you are working full-time and pay your part of the car insurance. You have your chores, I have mine. We all work together. I tell them if they are being assholes and they listen. In turn, I listen to them. There is very little fighting or arguing in my house. This is their time to spread their wings and learn how to be a responsible adult and have me as a safety net. Lately, one of my kids' significant others has been spending a lot of time over my house. He is here pretty much all the time. 2 days ago, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize and I answered. It was my daughter's boyfriend's mother. Me equals me. Entitled mother equals entitled mom. Me. Hello? Entitled mother. You need to tell my kid he isn't allowed over your house anymore. Me. Who is this? Entitled mother. This is Tommy's mother. Me. I already know where this is going. OH. Tommy's mom. I have to say you have raised a great kid. He is always polite and respectful. In fact, entitled mother. Look, I don't care what you think about my kid. He is never at home. He isn't spending any time with me. Me. Okay, there isn't much I can do about that. Entitled mother. Yes, there is. Tell him he can't come over to your house anymore. I want him home. And you. You set a bad example for my son. Your daughter has a no curfew and I am sick and tired hearing how nice it is at your house. I miasis him and want him home. Me speaking very lowly and basically growling into the phone. Are you done yelling at me? I think I stunned her into silence. Me, I will take that as a yes. Do you trust the way you raised your son? Entitled mother. What? Me, it's a simple question. Do you trust the way you raised your son? Entitled mother. OnlyFans, course I do. What does that have to do with anything? Me, do you trust him to make good decisions? Entitled mother. Yes. Yes, of course. She is starting to calm down now. Me, mother to mother. I know things are not okay at your house right now. Her husband drinks a lot. I'm trying to give your child a safe place when things are not okay at your house. She starts to cut me off at this point, but I won't let her. It's not your fault. Entitled mother. Me, he throws your son out for days at a time, sometimes doesn't he? Entitled mother. Yes, I can hear her choking back the tears. Me, do you need someone to talk to? Would you want to go out to lunch? That way you can feel safer knowing whose house your son is at and that he is safe. Entitled mother. That would be okay. We were on the phone for about an hour after that. What started out as an entitled mother was just a scared woman feeling very alone. Sorry, there wasn't any righteous retribution, but I think it turned out okay. I am going to try and get 19-year-old Tommy's curfew changed from 10 p.m. to midnight, and maybe he can stay over for a weekend. Edit. This really blew up overnight. Thank you for the platinum, gold, and silver. I will try to respond to all the messages. Edit. For the people saying my post is bull, I had a lot of information as to what was going on at Tommy's house before that phone call, and frankly, I have been through some of my own stuff with abusive relationships. It's a very hard road to be on. Let them eat cake. Long ago, way back in the before time, I worked for one of those bulk warehouse club stores. My trade was simple. I was a wrangler of the Silver Buffalo and dutifully retrieved the old ghetto strollers I did. The job in and of itself wasn't the worst I'd ever had. I got plenty of exercise, got to be outside, and generally didn't have to interact with the members. Calling them customers was taboo, for the most part. The thing about this job is that the company I worked for had a reputation for being cheap. Thusly, more often than not, I was on my own out in the parking lot. Big whoop, you might say. You gathered carts? You should see how hard my job is. Yeah, well, shut up. This is my story, but much. I digress. The reason that being alone sucked is that this store didn't have just one kind of cart. Hell, they didn't even just have two kinds of carts. You had your classic garden variety cart, the kiddie cart with the plastic facade to make it resemble a car, the electric scooters, which weren't supposed to leave the store, but did so with alarming frequency, and finally, the bulky, hard-to-control flatbeds. On top of that, whenever someone needed help loading their haul into their minivans, I was the guy they called. You know, because the greeters, cashiers, and managers were all busy. As you might expect, one man cannot be in multiple places at once, and as a result, on some of our busier days it became incredibly difficult to keep enough carts in the vestibule. Our story begins on one of these days. So there I was, chugging along like a good worker drone, struggling to keep up with the sheer volume of people coming in to buy cheap bulk goods. Sure enough, I get a call on the radio. Manager, top_gorilla 17. We need you to help some members load their purchases. I'd love to, but I'm barely able to keep up out here as is. Manager, just do it. Top_gorilla 17. You can afford to stop gathering carts for 2 minutes. Ron Howard, he couldn't. I didn't want to push my luck, so I complied. After spending 20 minutes loading people's purchases because when one person needs it, suddenly they all need it, I came back to find my vestibule in near ghost town, save for a single line of carts that was half gone, and the Karen. I won't waste time describing this specimen. She was the prototype. You know what she looked like. There she stood, menacing, tapping her foot with such speed that could make any metal drummer green with envy. You could collect the contempt in her gaze in a jar. Karen, where are the big flat ones? I blanked for a moment. I'm sorry. Karen, ugh. Mexicans. For the record, I'm very much white. Karen, where are the flat ones? Oh, you mean the flatbeds. I'm sorry. I was just helping some other members load their merchandise and haven't had a chance to dash. Karen, my God. I don't care about your excuses. You have one job and a trained monkey could do it. I just want this lady out of my face, so I don't fight it. Sorry, ma'am. I'll grab one from the parking lot for you. Karen, you'd better. So I go back out to the lot and find a whole line of flatbeds sticking out of a corral blocking several parking spaces. I push them all into the vestibule where she waits, huffing about how I'm wasting her valuable time. I separate one from the rest and bring it to her. I'm terribly sorry about the wait, ma'am. She leers at me with utter malice. Karen, unbelievable. And with that, she dismisses herself into the store, where she will be someone else's problem. I shake my head and return to doing what I'm paid to do. About 15 minutes later, I'm returning a line of carts when I see her pushing her flatbed to her Miata and jawing about stupid people, most certainly referring to me, on her cell phone. You know what she had bought? What she had insisted on having a flatbed for? A cake. This wasn't even like a big cake. It was one of those little circular numbers like... Anyways, I witness as she continues to yammer on about how I nearly ruined I tell you, her precious baby's birthday party when the most glorious thing happened. Still clutching her phone with those giant scoop claws of hers, she attempts to pick up the cake with one hand. The plastic topper pops off, and she spills the cake all over her undoubtedly expensive designer outfit. Seething with white-hot rage, she locks eyes with me. Karen, you, get me another cake. Now. Terribly sorry, ma'am. I've got one job, and these carts won't gather themselves. I walked away, crap-eating grin plastered on my face as her shrieks faded into the distance behind me. I've had my share of nasty customer interactions before, but this one, really took the cake. Hashtag yeah carrot a happy face carrot a happy face area wah. Edit. After posting this, a handful of you fine folks suggested that I should write a book. Well, I did. For those who are interested. Entitled Mother Lets Her Kid Steal My Blind Cane. So a bit of backstory, I am a 28-year-old woman who just recently went fully blind. When I was a teenager, I volunteered with my local youth group to help rebuild Mississippi after Hurricane Katrina. And while down there, I picked up a fungal parasite called histoplasmosis that over a decade migrated to my eyes and slowly caused blindness. I've been totally blind for about a year now, so I'm pretty new to it, but I digress. When I first went blind, I barely left the house and was afraid to go in public. I felt like everyone was staring at me, and in all honesty, I barely knew what I was doing. The transition had been difficult, and I didn't have any support group to teach me. One day, my husband asks if I can take an Uber down to the bank and deposit a rent check, and I reluctantly agree. While out, he messages again and reminds me that we're out of a few crucial groceries. There was a Walmart grocery literally across the street from the bank, so I figure everything in life is an experience, and I'll have to learn how to shop alone eventually, so why not? Everything was fine at first, and I was only grabbing a few things, so I didn't need a cart. I was using my cane and what little echolocation skills I had at the time to get around, but was still bumping into things as we blind tend to do sometimes. My cane suddenly hit something a bit softer, and I figure maybe I had whacked someone's leg and apologize. Cue entitled kid, entitled person, and entitled mother, entitled mother. Me, shoot, I'm sorry. Entitled mother, hey, you just hit my son. Me, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I didn't see him there. Entitled mother begins yelling. How could you not see him? He's clearly right here. Now I'm fully blind, but I don't wear sunglasses. Mostly because I can't afford a good UV blocking pair. But also I'm not ever looking for pity or to play the part of a generic blind person. I just want to be treated like a normal person, but I do understand her confusion as blindness is a spectrum. So I try to calmly explain. Me, ma'am, I'm blind. I can't see anything, let alone your son. That's why I have to use the cane. So I can get around without? She cuts me off. If you're blind, why aren't you wearing big sunglasses? Now, as a blind person, I get a lot of stupid questions, but I understand a lot of them are just people who don't know better, so I try to happily answer as many as I can. Me, those are really expensive, around $200 for a good pair. And I really don't need any inside. Entitled mother, you're not blind, you're faking it. Here is where my blood starts to boil. I can't think of any reason someone would want to pretend to be blind. It's an actual hell, and nothing pisses me off more than when someone calls me a liar when I'm not. Just as I'm about to respond, I feel a tug, and before I blink, I realize this little demon spawn has snatched my 100 cane from my hands. For those of you who don't understand, that's like if you're shopping and suddenly the power goes out and you can't see a single light. Without my cane, I can barely move at all without crashing into anything. My voice gets shaky as I begin to panic. Please give that back. I really do need it. Entitled mother, no you don't, you liar. My son deserves to play with this more than you. I hear her shuffle away and my expensive cane cracking into metal displays and such as they leave. I start crying and waving my arms in front of me to grab onto something, anything, and end up crashing and falling into a center aisle display, making a loud scene. Without fail, I somewhat curl into a ball and cry. I'm alone in public in the dark, and I had no idea what to do. Suddenly, I feel a hand on my shoulder and a man's voice, we'll call him AG for awesome guy, asks if I'm okay and to stay right here. I do, but begin to at least sit up and listen. This man must have been tall and built like a tank because his footsteps sounded like a giant, and I felt a suction of wind when he took off. Maybe about 30 or 40 feet away, I hear this loud bellowing like an angry lion and a loud crash. Then before I know it, the man is back and helping me to my feet. He takes my hand and puts my cane into my palm and helps me pick up the items I dropped when I fell into the display. Me wiping tears from my cheeks. Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't know how to handle that. AG, don't worry about it. Some people are just monsters. This guy restored my faith in humanity and even helped me finish shopping and help me out of the store. As we're leaving, I can hear the familiar screeching of entitled mother. Something about AG grabbing the cane and pulling hard, flinging her little devil child into a shopping cart. I don't know if she was exaggerating or not, but it would explain the crash I heard. It's easy to feel alone in a world without sight, but even through the sheer terror of being stripped of my cane, at least I know now that there are people willing to stand up for me when I need it. Edit. Because of the sheer overwhelming amount of people asking, if you're blind, how are you typing? They'll first answer with my fingers. And secondly, I'm using a screen reader called Narrator that reads the screen. Wherever my cursor or finger is over the screen, it reads. When I type a letter, it reads. Guys, just like Google it or something.